And joining us this morning, Petro Poroshenko, the former president of Ukraine. Mr. President, it's always a pleasure to see you. Let's talk about Mariupol right now. What is in store for those Ukrainian fighters who are now prisoners of war?
First of all, this is the symbol of Ukrainian heroism and heroism of Ukrainian armed forces, because you cannot find any other example in the world military history when 82 days without food, without water, with a lack of ammunition, they tied more than 20,000 Russian troops, saving and helping to protect the whole Ukraine. Point number two, this is definitely important that all international organizations recognize Ukrainian fighters as prisoners of war. And we should not allow Putin to launch his own scenario when Putin to make so-called suit them. Russia has no any jurisdiction. This is Russia to come here to Mariupol. Mariupol is Ukraine, and he come here to kill Ukrainian civilians and to grab Ukrainian land. And we definitely should unite all the efforts to return Ukrainian hero back without any delay, without any cirque propaganda, and we definitely need to have them back alive. And with this situation, I am absolutely confident that we should unite it, and then it would be great responsibility of the military criminal who killing and who make a disaster in Mariupol. And with that situation, I'm absolutely count that we will have in the whole world so-called Bucha list, Mariupol list, when the dozens of thousands of civilians were killed by Russian, put them in jail.
Mr. President, I'm reminded that the missile that took down that Russian ship was obtained under your administration. But since then, the Ukrainians have gotten so much military support. I'm just thinking after 2014, when parts of Ukraine were essentially taken over by Russia and the world stood by. Is there, do you think, a victory for the Ukrainian people possible in the near future?
First of all, Ukraine will never give up. Second, or maybe first, victory would be not only with Ukraine, but with the whole world, because this is the war against the whole Western world. Point number three, I'm proud that me as a Supreme Commander-in-Chief 2014-2019, when I was elected as a president, we don't have any army. And we, together with the United States, together with NATO, create a new Ukrainian armed forces who now demonstrate how, what does it mean to armed forces created by NATO standard to fight against Russia on the Soviet Union standard. And that's why we surprised the world. That's why Ukrainian armed forces surprised the world. And that's why the Ukrainian people, by their unity, surprised the world. And you also surprised the world by solidarity with Ukraine. And with that situation, definitely our victory is unavoidable. And we need for that just three things: weapons, weapons, and weapons. And can you imagine that the game changer is just 500 tanks or 1,000 armed personnel carrier, just 100 jet fighter or 300 anti-aircraft missiles, and the future of the whole world would be different. And I'm proud that under great leadership of the American president, Joe Biden, American administration, United States Congress, who demonstrate bipartisan support for Ukraine, and the most important, United States people, they unite the whole world, and we have now the significant opportunity to counterattack Russian troops, because that is the only thing we need to stop Russians and to counterattack that. And with this situation, also, we are very much appreciate for voting Lend-Lease Act, and I call for all civilized country follow the example of the United States and make the same legislative initiative like United States Congress. We definitely waiting for the position of the Marshall Plan, and we are very much appreciate for the $40 billion draft law which voted already in the Congress. We appreciate the leaders of the European Union for $10 billion package supporting Ukrainian reform, supporting Ukrainian military assistance. And just remember, you not only or not simply assist in Ukraine, you invest in your own security. You invest in the global security. You help us to deputinize Russia. Help us to save the world.
And Mr. Poroshenko, do you think that Russia, that Putin can survive Ukraine?
Look, with that situation again, I see that our main task is to deputinize the world. For deputinizing the world, we need to stop finance Putin, to stop and make an embargo for Russia, not only oil and gas, not only nuclear fuel or coal. We should stop the international trade from Russia. And this is the beginning now with this initiative, with the sixth package of the European Union sanction, with the next stage of the United States sanction. That is the beginning of the end of the Putin regime. And the next step should be the block for the Russian transportation, including oil tanker, including commercial vessel. We should stop them not to deliver any goods from Russia, not to finance bombs for killing Ukrainians.
Mr. President, we have about a minute before President Biden is set to speak. Very quickly, when you see Finland and Sweden ask for NATO membership, do you think that's something the Ukraine, had they been able to do that before, this could have been avoided? We only have about a minute.
First of all, I pray that it would be not two, but three countries, Sweden, Finland, and Ukraine. We have a very narrow window of opportunity, and we pray, please support us. Give us the membership action plan, and definitely the world would be significantly safer with the new 3 NATO member states. And on summit in Madrid, NATO summit, please make a decision about giving us membership action plan. I was promised as a president many times. Now, please implement these promises. And that's just demonstration the world is not follow the Putin blackmail. And with this situation, we, Ukrainians, defend the left or eastern flank of NATO. That makes the world, that makes the United States, that make NATO significantly more secure.